I would like to call the City of Manistee Brownfield Redevelopment Authority meeting of January 13th in order, 4:08. And call to order, and the roll has been taken?
Yep, everybody's here except
Megan.
Board Member Kemp.
Okay. And then we could move to the approval of the agenda. At this time, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority can act to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
A motion made and seconded?
Second.
And seconded. To approve the agenda we have. You want to vote on that, or, all right? How, you want to call the names, or?
No, just go ahead. We don't need a roll call.
Everybody in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And it's approved. Move then to public comments on the agenda items. At this time, the chair will ask if there's any public comments on agenda items. Are there any public comments? No public comments. All right. Move then to correspondence. At this time, the chair will ask if any correspondence has been received to be included in the record.
Nothing formal, but I'll give you a little bit of a gateway update when we get to that section.
When we get to that section, okay. Public hearing, we have none. Approval of the minutes. At this time, the Brownfield Authority can act to approve the June 19th, 2025 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Who made, I'm sorry, who made the motion?
She seconded.
And seconded.
I made the motion, she
Okay,
seconded.
thank you.
Shelley made the motion, she seconded. You got that, Ed?
Yep.
All signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, that's approved. The financial reports. Now, you want to step into that one?
Sure. So they were included in your packet. Let me get down to them here on this so you can see them on the screen. So we had a few payments since the last meeting. Primarily I have to distribute the taxes that the Brownfield Authority collects, and I do that once a year, and then we file a report with the state. So you'll see that on the list of invoices to the River Park Place 2 and North Channel Investors and Hotel Ventures, and then we have to remit some of that to the state of Michigan. There was a little bit of attorney money for the Gateway Brownfield Development Agreement, and then some advertisements in the paper and the membership that I have in the Michigan Economic Developer Association. So those are the things that show on that list. I don't know if anybody has any questions on those or not.
Any questions?
Were those payments to North Channel or from North Channel?
Two, so because they have active brownfield plans, we collect or capture the taxes. That's the whole idea behind the tax increment financing, and then we pay those out once a year.
Okay.
So according to the development and reimbursement agreements.
You want to vote on that approval of the finances?
For the invoices, yeah. I broke them out separately.
Invoices, okay. So we have a motion to approve the invoices.
I'll make a motion.
Motion,
Second.
seconded by Shelley. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, and that's been approved. Now, financial
On the
statements.
financial statements, so we've had, you can see the, as of 12/31/25, the balance sheet. There's quite a bit of cash on the books because, again, I've been capturing taxes, and those will get paid out prior to June 30th. So that's why these are kind of high right now. And then on the revenue and expenditure side, we haven't had any revenue because we haven't had any applications for brownfield plans. I expect there might be some coming in before June 30th, but right now we don't have any. And then on the expenditure side, as I said, there was the $3,700 for the attorney and $149 for the printing and publishing that kind of came through. So the tax captures are a balance sheet item, so those don't show up on the P&L statement, if you're wondering where those are.
All right. You want a motion on that too? All right, we need a motion on the financial statements that we just read.
Motion to approve financials.
Shelley and
I'll second.
second, okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And the financial statements. Okay, move then to old business. We have done, correct?
Correct.
Under new business, we have election of officers. According to the bylaws of the City of Manistee Brownfield Authority, the annual election of officers is held at the annual meeting in January. At this time, the meeting will be turned over to the administrator, Ed Bradford, who will ask for nominations for the chair. Ed, you're in charge.
Okay, so do we have any nominations from the members for the chair for 2026?
I nominate Roger.
A second? Or do you need a second?
Yeah.
To accept Roger.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to nominate Roger Yoder for the chair. Do we have any other nominations? Going once, going twice, closed. All right, so we need we have a motion and a second to nominate Roger as the chair. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. I will turn the meeting back over to the chair, Roger, for nominations for vice chair and for secretary and treasurer.
All right, thank you for that vote of confidence. All right, for vice chair, I will take nominations for, if we have any nominations for the vice chair.
Who are the current officers?
So the current
Okay.
officers are Roger is the chair, you're the vice chair, Shelley, and Megan is the secretary treasurer.
Okay.
Okay.
I nominate Shelley.
Shelley is nominated. And I'll second that then, for the vice chair. So you want to call, we'll have a,
Oh, you get to call the roll now, or call for the vote if there's no other.
we'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, and Shelley is the vice chair. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
I expect a raise.
And then we move to the secretary treasurer. Do we have a nomination for the
I'll
secretary?
nominate Kate.
Oh, okay, there you go.
I second.
There you go.
And it's both roles, secretary and treasurer?
Well, it's
Yes.
not as
Really,
bad
there
as
really
it
isn't a
sounds.
lot. I'm the recording secretary. I send out the minutes, the draft
Yeah.
minutes after the meeting, so as secretary, you'll want to review those, just make sure you think they're accurate, and then just, let me know or whatever.
Okay.
And then with the treasurer stuff, I just send out the financials, periodically, so there's not a lot to do.
Is this like a legal responsibility? Am I gonna have to
They're
be
literally one-page
court
statements.
written?
It's really not
One
that
page
bad.
statements.
But anyhow, okay, so
Alright, wasn't sure.
we've got a nomination. Any
second
other
it.
nominations for secretary treasurer? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, and you are the secretary treasurer.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, moving then to the bylaws and review. At this time, the Brownfield Authority could recommend changes to their bylaws after review.
So I included those in the packet. We haven't had any changes or seen the need to have any changes for a little while. I think they're fine from my perspective, but it's up to you guys if you want any changes proposed. You can do that now, and then those have to go to city council.
Yeah.
I didn't see any, and we defer to your guidance, or at least I do.
Anybody over here want any changes to the bylaws?
Okay, so consensus for no changes.
No changes to the bylaws. Okay,
Okay,
moving then to the housing TIFA overview.
all right. Hey, Kirk,
Yes.
you've got the packet, right, up on your computer that you can see? I'm not going to share my screen, I'm just going to walk through the slides, and if you want to follow along, if that works for you. Did I send you the packet?
I don't think you sent me the packet. Is it online? Because I can pull it off.
I'll just share my screen then.
Okay.
Wow, that's really weird. Okay, can you see the PDF document?
I cannot.
That's interesting.
I can just see your logo that says EB.
At least it's only sharing one of your screens.
I know. There we go. Okay, now can you see it?
Yes,
Okay.
I can see it.
So we're just going to have a brief discussion about TIF housing or housing TIF. We haven't done any of those in the city, and that's a fairly new tool in the toolbox for communities. It's only been around for maybe 3 years. A number of communities have kind of started to get involved with that, but we haven't had any requests up until now. And so I'm just going to run over, and we haven't had a formal request, so it's more of a conversation, but there is a developer that owns some property in Harbor Village, and they are tentatively proposing to redevelop that section, kind of with 3 distinct types of housing. The one, which is kind of along the ponds, so to speak, are going to be the more high-end homes or duplexes. And then there's a building down here that's going to have a number of units, and I can't remember if it's 10 or 14. Do you remember?
On the right side?
Left side.
It
this
says
one.
14.
Yeah.
It says one new 14 unit round.
14, yep. Those will be more moderately priced. It'll be like a 3 or 4 level. And then this building here is the one that they're going to target potentially for 120% of the adjusted area median income, and those are the types of housing that qualifies for housing TIF potentially. So that's kind of what they're doing on paper. We met with them, Andrew and the city manager, to kind of talk through that. They seem anxious to get going. They wanted to talk to the city about the receptiveness to doing a housing TIF. I don't think that there's any issue with that. It'd be new for this body. Fishback with Kirk and Susan Wenzlick, who worked for the state for 3 decades, are very familiar with housing TIF, so they would obviously help us guide through that. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that's something that's going to probably be coming down the pipe. I included some other information in the packet, more for background information. I put in the 2023 Housing Needs Assessment for Manistee County, which the point in that is just to say, there's a huge need for housing. It's been in the paper. We've got Housing North working on it. We've got housing working groups. We've got Andrew. Everybody's working on housing because there's a real shortage of it. So that's just to kind of, help reinforce that. Then I put in a flyer that Fishbeck had done, which is kind of how tax increment financing for housing works. And basically, it helps to fill the gap between what the developer needs to be, to build it and to put the infrastructure in and to what they can reasonably sell it for. And there's often a gap there. And so one of the sections of the law is to facilitate the sale of these housings, or to, and it's kind of broad, but this slide just shows how that's kind of been implemented. And until you actually get the request from the developer, there's other things, but you can help to put in infrastructure and that sort of stuff with this TIF capture. I think the slide is pretty self-explanatory. These are some slides that Fishbeck put together for a previous presentation, and Kirk said I could include them. Just wanted to kind of run through it. So basically, there's the Brownfield eligible activities for housing TIF is kind of managed or reviewed by MISHDA, which is the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. And there's a lot of eligible activities plus housing development activities. And in order to qualify that, as I mentioned, you generally have to be, the units have to target 120% of the area median income or below. And there's a number of different things: housing gaps, site prep, infrastructure. It doesn't have to be a public infrastructure. It could be infrastructure that's internal to the site. The financing gap, which is a big one, that I think some of the examples that I put in there kind of demonstrated. And it's eligible statewide. Here in the city of Manistee, we're considered a core community. And so we are able to use brownfield tax increment finance for a lot of different things. Some communities can't do that, but they've opened up the housing TIF, so it's like everybody's a core community for that particular thing. So they're really trying to encourage communities and developers to use this tool because it does help to move projects ahead. All right. The key phrase of the day, the area median income, and it's determined for each county by household size. MISHDA keeps track of all that. This says it was last updated in April 2025. Do you know if it's been updated since then, Kurt? Or
It's only updated once a year, each year in April, so it'll be updated again in April 26.
okay. And the housing TIF incentives, they focus on people earning up to the 120 AMI, which is a maximum of 106,200 for a two-person household. That's not for our area. This is in Ottawa County. Just keep in mind, they're quite a bit more affluent than Manistee. So our numbers are quite a bit lower than that. I just didn't have time to update this since I was plagiarizing their slides. But you can see, you know, they have all the limits, and MISTA is the people that kind of enforce that. So who are we talking about? Good paying jobs, first-time home buyers with limited equity and savings, vocational school, you know, parents paying for childcare. It's often mentioned that people that around here that fall into that category are, you know, EMTs and paramedics, school teachers, entry-level professionals in nursing or accounting, or perhaps even, you know, maybe an engineer that's straight out of school working for Martin Marietta or Morton Salt. You know, it's people you wouldn't think would meet those guidelines, but they do, just because that's what those jobs are paying. Right. And so it's that gap. I mean, you can find a lot of really low-cost housing, and you can find a lot of high-end housing, but it's that middle, the missing middle, they call it, where it's really difficult, and there's just way more demand than there is supply for that housing.
Higher positions because we don't have the housing.
And you know, I think you see the apartments that are going in now, they'll be starting to let those in the spring. I think that's going to help to address some of those needs, and I think you'll see some trickle-down effect here in the city with landlords being forced, because you're going to see people moving out of those houses, which will open up the housing stock. The question is, how are they going to position themselves? Are they going to fix them up? Are they going to say, yeah, I don't want to be in this market anymore, and sell them so now they can become starter homes? How are they going to do that? I think that's yet to be determined, but I think there will be some ripple effects with those new apartments, because there's a lot of people in maybe older housing stock, or maybe they're a little smaller than they'd like, that are going to want to move into those 2-3 bedroom ones and have a little nicer unit. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. This is an example from Hudsonville. You know, it says a two-person household in Ottawa County at 100% AMA 88.5 looking to buy a home with a 15% down payment qualifies for a house of $285,000 or rent of $2,075. Okay, a two-person household qualifies for a house at $212,000 or a rent of $1,660, but the average sale price for a home in Hudsonville is $400 to $425. The numbers don't work, right? You just can't find stuff. And it's similar in Manistee County, just ratchet the numbers all down, quite a bit. So if you're a builder, you will lose money if you're building houses for middle-income people. Because there's demand for it, but they can't pay for it. Yep. And so that's where the housing TIF really comes in. This is an article that was in Michigan Builder, Cracking the Code. I think this was down in maybe Newaygo County.
We did that one, Ed.
What's that?
Sable Homes.
Yeah.
That was a project Susan did.
Okay. Do you want to talk about that at all? Do you remember kind of how that went? The article is pretty self-explanatory, but
I didn't work on that one, so I don't have a lot of experience, but I do know a little bit about it.
So this is kind of that same slide, but Susan Wenzel, like I said, who worked for the state for years, kind of shepherded this one, and she actually gave a presentation to the county summit like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, when it was out at the casino, I think, talking about that. And that was when the housing TIF was just getting going. So this is a little bit older, but not entirely. So anyway, the point of this isn't to take a deep dive into the housing TIF. It's just to kind of make you folks aware that it's a tool that's out there. It's being heavily promoted by the state and by local land banks, and the developers are starting to take advantage of that and make requests for that. And so I think we'll see one of those coming down the pipeline soon. And I want you guys to be kind of familiar with it so it doesn't get you totally blind. But we haven't yet seen an application or a proposal or anything like that. Kirk, do you have any comments based on any recent housing projects that you've worked on, kind of how it works, or what we should be aware of, or just thoughts in general about housing TIF?
Yeah, a couple things. So like Ed mentioned, this presentation was for a joint commission meeting in Hudsonville. So I actually serve on Hudsonville's DDA. So we gave the DDA and BRA. So we gave that to their planning commission, city council, DDA and BRA. And In Ottawa, as Ed showed, the 120 AMI is like 106.2. I just looked in Manistee, it's about 20 grand less than that. So you can kind of see why the housing TIF is needed. What we've seen is that communities can get really excited about housing TIF. It really depends on the projects that come in, because the way that the housing gap is calculated, you can get some pretty large numbers out of it. It's really been used a lot, to be honest. I think developers are really seeing it as a way to fill a gap. In particular, in Manistee, you guys are lucky that you're a core community. I can tell you in Hudsonville, because we're a non-core community, the site prep and the infrastructure were not eligible for any TIF before, but if you do a housing project, they are. So that's why we've approved 3 in Hudsonville over the past year. But in Manistee, what you guys can get, not only the private infrastructure, but public infrastructure to make the development happen, is eligible for reimbursement if you use the affordability. So that's a good addition to it. The other part that is for you guys to know too is the statute reads you have to have 1 unit that's affordable in that 80 to 120% AMI for rent and income, but it doesn't have to be the entire development. So it has to be a portion of it. Most communities are trying to go 20% or more affordable. Is kind of what I'm seeing across the board. So those are a couple of real brief highlights that I've seen.
So his point is, if a developer comes to you with a 50-unit proposed development and they have 1 that's affordable, you don't have to approve the housing TIF. You can say, no, we want more, and it's a discussion back and forth. And I don't think a developer's going to come in and do that, because they know that that's what community, but you never know. Sometimes you can get
Depends
that.
on the community.
Right.
Yep. And I've seen a developer approach me with the way you can calculate. The equation is based on a different control, rent Mishta calls it. But I had a developer come to me to look at a project where his gap, let's just say the total project investment was $2 million, and he was asking for $1.8 million in tax incentives. So when I tell you to be cautious of that, it can go the other way where developers can take advantage of it. We're not seeing a lot of that, but you might.
So I didn't really have anything else. It was more just to kind of make you aware that we've had developers that have shown interest. I think the one I showed you is very valuable, but we haven't had a formal application yet. And that would be an exciting project to get that last little section of Harbor Village built out potentially. So that's all I really had on that. I don't know if there's any questions or not.
Any questions? On the
Okay.
housing project? No? I guess not, Ed. So
All right.
can we move to then the staff reports?
Sure. So just a couple things. So you're going to see activity starting on the Gateway site, which is great. They're putting up fences. They're going to take down some trees. They're going to take down some abandoned power poles, and then sometime after that, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks is what I'm hearing, they're going to be starting to remove some of the contaminated soils. So that's exciting news. I got an email from Dave Rotondo, who's the project manager on that, and I had met with T previous to that, who's their environmental consultant, and it's starting to get moving. So that's really good news. So just
That's the
wanted to let
Gateway
you know.
project?
What's that?
The Gateway project?
Yep, there'll be you'll see some activity down at that end of town finally, so that.
It's in a couple months, or do we?
No, I think the fences and stuff going up are gonna be, if not later this week, early part of next week, according to the email, and the trees and the power pole relocation. The soil excavations might be a couple more weeks out, is what I'm hearing.
Oh, okay.
So,
I heard this in passing, and I don't know if it's true because last time T came in front of us, nothing really had changed. Have there been material changes to the site plan?
so nothing formal yet, but there have been a slight, I wouldn't say it's material, I'd say it's
The parking garage?
the phasing is a little different. No, that's still there. It's the building that's on the east end.
Okay.
The one
Oh,
that's
okay.
on the corner
The
of
corner.
31, not the hotel one across the road on the.
No, it was supposed to be
It's the
some
little one. Yeah, that one is
mixed use.
kind of going to be tier 3 at some point. So that's the difference, I think, at this point. Everything else is pretty much kind of the same, but they're still working through that. And then the Harbor Village inquiry was what we kind of just talked about with the housing TIF and that site plan, or, potential site plan that I showed you. So I haven't had any other inquiries. I know there's developers around here. There's one downtown that they're looking at potentially doing stuff. And obviously the Ringo Oil building is down and there may be some brownfield need there, but nothing formal yet.
Okay.
Andrew, I don't know if you've got anything you can add on any of those or any other potential brownfields you're aware of that are ripe to.
No, I think the meeting's been very useful in the sense of getting you all up to speed with housing TIF, because in my discussions with developers, that's the tool that many of them have kind of early and often indicated that they have the intent on using. And so outside of this Harbor Village, there are 2 other projects that I can think of that have already kind of their early stages. You won't see them, for another couple months, but have indicated we would love to use housing TIF. And so there are 2 other projects out there outside of the Harbor Village project that you'll most likely see come down the pipe in the next couple months.
Okay.
So it's all good. Still a lot of developer interest in Manistee. So I mean, that's super
They're gonna be
positive.
the only way that we can get houses built.
Yeah. Well, we definitely need the housing for sure. That's a point. Okay. Anything else?
I don't have anything more.
Nothing? And we
Yep.
move then to the meeting dates. It is the second Tuesday of the month at 4 o'clock unless canceled.
So just keep those on your calendar. That's how we have them posted. And then if we don't need them, we'll cancel them. I think that's the best way to do it for
Yeah.
now. That way you guys get used to that. And, I try not to schedule a meeting if there's nothing to talk about, because I want to be respectful of your time, but I also want to keep you guys in the loop. So I may try to do them at a minimum quarterly, even if we don't really have a whole lot to talk about, just so we're not going 6 months. I think that's too long and kind of in retrospect, so.
Appreciate it. Okay, then we'll continue the same at 4 o'clock on the first Tuesday, right? Mm-hmm. Or second Tuesday?
Second Tuesday.
Yeah. Everybody happy with that, okay?
Yep.
Move then to members' discussion. This time the chair will ask the members of the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority if they have any items that they want to discuss. And we'll start with Kate. How about you, young lady?
Well, I was just reminded when you said the soil removal for the Gateway project. I live near the Hotel Northern, and they're doing a lot of soil work right now. They're digging up like the old pipes, but they're just putting all the soil, the old dirt, like in a pile. And I was just wondering, should they be moving it? Like, should they be taking bad soil away? Because I know there's a bunch of contamination.
I'm not sure that Kirk can talk about that. I don't know that soil there is particularly contaminated. The stuff at Gateway is, and that'll be treated
Yeah.
differently. Most of the brownfield plan for the Hotel Northern had to do with stabilizing the building. But Kirk, can you talk about that at all? Would you remember?
Let me try to pull up the Brownfield plan real quick.
Yeah, I don't recall there being that level of contamination in soil there. It's more.
Yeah, I think it was more related to groundwater, but I'm opening up the Brownfield plan so I can tell you here in one.
But you're
minute.
absolutely right. If it was, they need to handle that appropriately. So,
Yeah. Let me see what their eligible activities look like, and we can answer the questions.
but the stuff from Gateway will be going to a landfill.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
There's also
Yeah, it's industrial.
2 levels.
Hazardous versus contaminated.
I don't know. Are you still
Yeah,
looking?
so the property does have contamination, but it's pretty minimal, like Ed mentioned. Yeah, they're using a different so they're not using Fishback as the environmental consultant, which is okay. So that's why I'm having to look into it. The contamination out there, there is soil contamination out there, so it's very likely that they're staging it in a pile and then will eventually take the whole pile off to the landfill. That's a pretty standard activity if they can't use it on site. Now, it looks like there is contamination, soil contamination across that site. So they might be able to reuse that underneath grass lawn areas, parking lots. So they
Kurt,
could just be getting it out of the way.
The site plan didn't call for them, it's not to the level where they have to actually like remove the soils in and of itself. They're just doing some infrastructure work, whether that's tying in storm drains or sanitary or water or whatever it is.
Well-
So it's likely that if there is some stuff that has to get hauled away, it'll be pretty minimal. It's not like they're having to remove 2 feet off the entire site and bring in new soil and stuff like
More
that.
specifically, if the soil's identified as contaminated, is there any testing that's done while the operation is ongoing to ensure that the neighborhood, is this kind of where your question was going? To ensure that the people in the neighborhood aren't getting something either blown on them or drained into their
Sure.
property?
I mean, I think there's due care responsibilities that the developer has that they would work with their environmental consultant to comply with.
Gets a little windy here.
Yeah, and we don't necessarily,
What-
as an authority, don't necessarily police that. That's kind of their consultant's responsibility.
What we police,
Yeah.
I was asking him as an expert whether or not they do any testing,
Okay.
intermediate testing while this stuff's out and about in the environment. Instead of like lead, take lead. You got lead, it's sitting there, it's not been, or even asbestos. If it's, people say, don't touch it, don't move it, don't worry. But is there any, while this stuff is getting scraped up and pushed around, is there a requirement by either the state or any agency to have it tested?
So I think, just to keep them separated, if you're dealing in the asbestos realm, then yes, you have to do certain abatement measures, which means keeping the material wetted so it doesn't get into the air. That's a lot different. When you have contaminated soil, it's based on, there's multiple levels of contamination you have, and it's based on the exposure pathway. So there is an exposure pathway for soil inhalation, it's called, and I don't believe these are above those levels. If they were above inhalation levels, then there would have to be certain measures. Now, it's always best practice, as Ed mentioned, if you have, we don't see it in the winter a lot, but you do in the summer when it's really hot and you have dusting conditions, that's wet down so that you don't have air particles blowing off site. You typically don't see that in the winter because we don't run into that often, but Ed is correct. The developer's consultant should be working with the developer to make sure that they're meeting all their due care measures.
So does that help?
Yes, thank you.
And when they submit their reimbursement requests, I mean, we look at that, Kirk and I look at that to make sure that it kind of complies with what they said they're gonna do in the Brownfield plan too, so. Most of the time it does, but that's, obviously that's an after-the-fact review, but if they said they're gonna do X, Y, and Z and they haven't, or they haven't demonstrated that, they can't get reimbursed for it, so.
Yeah, and this brownfield plan does not include soil removal, so it's likely just being staged there because it had to be out of the way for a infrastructure line, something else going on site, but it will likely be replaced on the property and probably put under a cap of some sort. But there isn't a line item in the brownfield plan I can see for the whole Hotel Northern for off-site disposal, so it's probably just going to stay on site, which is applicable. That's not a problem.
Thank you.
All right, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Anything else? Sir? Any
No,
questions?
thank you for such a thorough explanation, Kurt.
Yes.
Okay, no other issues? Okay, Shelley, what is the problem?
I have nothing.
Nothing.
No problem.
Well, I got no problems either then. All right, in that case, public comments on agenda items. We got any public, nothing to say? All right, well, in that case then, I would make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Have we got a Shelley and seconded?
I'll second.
Seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And we are adjourned
So I'm not a crazy person.
until we meet again.
So you're going?
We had our holiday party at work for our executive
Sounds
group.
good. Ed, do you need anything else from me?
I got your email, it's been a crazy week, I'll circle back with you.
How did
Okay.
Yeah, it's no rush on anything.
Okay.
Just call me.
And I
when you-
didn't, I
when
didn't
you-
submit the other thing. I thought we'd just go through that little meeting tomorrow and then I'd send it in. I just didn't get around to getting it down to them yet.
Yeah, I just wanted to get it off my plate, so you're good.
I know. Ball's in my court.
Just leaving work then.
Thanks, Kurt.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
okay.
thanks.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
He
no,
said they had a good time though.
I said, hey, do you know?
I had a basketball
About
game the
9:30.
kids played last night in Breathitt.